Ladies and gentlemen, it's Sit Down Comedy with David Steinberg. Tonight's special guest, Jerry Seinfeld.
When my guest tonight was 8 years old, he remembers watching TV with his family and his dad saying, "See that guy in there on television? His actual job is to just be funny." Well, something obviously took, because 20 years later, that little kid became one of the best at that job in the entire country. And today, you can't have a conversation about TV history without mentioning his name. Would you welcome, please, Jerry Seinfeld.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
So, Jerry, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This is my favorite thing to do.
Which
I've never done it for people.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing, as we were just talking backstage, the favorite thing, if you're a comedian, the greatest thing about being a comedian, as David will attest, is knowing other comedians.
Yes, it's
and
true.
you get to talk to them.
Yes.
And it's fun.
The most fun.
It's the most fun.
And I told you I was watching your documentary
Right.
about going on the road again and being a comedian. And I found it very depressing.
It is.
You know why it was depressing.
Yeah, when comedy, people always say, oh, it must be so hard. It really isn't hard unless you're not good at it. If you are not good at it, it is the hardest job in the world. If you can do it, it's really kind of fun and easy.
Yes, yes. What did you learn from being on the road, you know, going out and... What was the surprise?
Well, after the show, the road was really a lot easier. From the internet and cable, really, if you went out now, you would find audiences are much more, there's a much higher and broader intelligence level.
They're smart.
They're just, everyone's more aware of everything.
Right.
No.
And there's nothing regional anymore, really.
Not as much, no. My friend Spike has a theory that there's just too much of everything.
I agree with that.
Really, that's what's happening to us.
There's too much. You see someone that you find interesting on Tuesday on television, and by Friday you hate that person.
You're tired of him.
Yeah, because you've seen him on the Tonight Show, you've seen him on or even not comedians, just people.
Don't you find that you're tired of shows that you've never seen? You hear some show is going, their farewell episode, and you go, thank God they're done. I'm so... Jeez, enough of that crap. And I never saw one episode of it.
Do people come up to you and say, "Oh, I've got one for you, here's a joke"? And did you get that much?
No, I don't get that, but what I do get is people trying to be funny. I don't know why. I don't need you to be funny for me. It doesn't, I don't want to be entertained. I don't know, maybe they're trying to return the favor or something. You know, crankiness is so much at the essence of all comedy. It's cranky. And my wife and I were discussing, there are really different types of cranky. There's entertaining cranky, there's annoying cranky, there's angry cranky.
Do you get cranky and get into anger ever?
Well, all comedy starts with anger.
Yes, right. You have to be angry.
You get angry, and it's never for a good reason. Right? You know it's not a good reason, and then you try and work it from there.
Right, right. I'm that way about the phone. I don't like when people call me assuming that I have nothing better to do than to stop what I'm doing and talk to them.
Well, the phone has become, for some reason, this thing that we really want security around. Yeah. You know, I want to know who's calling, and star 69, and caller ID block, and caller ID, and then you got the blocking. I mean, it's all this, like, war and anti-spy thing, you know. And I think, like, there was a time, like, the phone would ring, people would say, "I'll get it." Remember that? It's like, you gotta, you know, it's like, you got to think back to Lassie. When did I last hear that? It must have been a Lassie episode, you know.
So, where is your curiosity today? What are the kind of things that you're...
Nothing, you know, nothing of any consequence.
Nothing about life, death, or...
Well, yeah, that's interesting. It's the, you know, a friend of mine and I like to talk about these companies that work on things like paper towel people, you know, with the absorbency issue that they have. Like we're paying attention. Like any of us is thinking, you know, this one isn't quite that absorbent. And I'm thinking, you know, get on to something else. You know, get on to the eliminating that long piece on the bottom when you tear it off. Try and eliminate, you know, just move on. Make the brawny guy a little less gay. How about that? For something, if you want something to work on.
Does it bother you to hear all the side effects and all the pharmaceuticals?
No, it doesn't.
Well, I'm bothered when to get potato chips, they'll tell you that there's a side effect. The side effect is, and they throw it away real fast as if you don't hear it, is there's a slight possibility of anal leakage.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for a chip, would you risk anal leakage? No, not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And the fact is that possibility always exists all the time. Anyway.
So, Jerry, you said you opened for Frankie Valli, right? Mm-hmm. So you were on the road with Frankie Valli?
Yes, many times.
Yeah, because I mentioned Frankie Valli, and you remembered that I used his name always. He was always a name of somehow where I ended up at the Aladdin with Frankie Valli.
Yeah, right? David loves to mention Frankie Valli in his punchlines. And
I love
comedians,
it. Yeah.
Comedians remember
Do you
that.
have names like that you use?
Bob, I love Bob. Like I used to have a bit about two horses in the back of the horse trailer, and I was wondering if they knew that their asses were hanging out the back of it. And then one horse would go, "Do you feel a breeze, Bob?" It was always Bob. I just like Bob.
Well, Bob's good.
I name everybody in my neck Bob.
Right. You do have a lot of material about animals, I noticed. Didn't you?
I do, yeah.
Why is that?
I'm good at making them talk and say and speak in very human ways.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I had a great bit I don't do anymore about the, how do they know so definitely the expiration date on the milk? They're so confident in it that they brand it in there. You know, there's no question that that is it, you know. And do the cows tip them off when they're milking them, you know? Do they look back, July 3rd? I do it with my kids, too. I'm actually quite good puppeteer as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm very good at, you know, my wife is always pushing us to go to these birthday parties, you know, which is my least favorite thing about being a parent. We got to go to the Wiley's birthday party, and it's his best friend, Wiley's his best friend. I go, he's 2, he has no friends, you know. And I take my sock off, and I put it on my hand, and I make it talk. I go, see, this is his new best friend now. Now he loves this more than Wiley.
Now we don't have to go anymore.
Now we don't have to go.
Oh, that's
and
good.
Then the other thing I hate about the birthday parties, which I'm sure you don't remember, is the birthday party clown always wants to talk to me about his comedy career. You know, and why he can't get to the next level, and, you know. And I say to him, you know, believe me, I completely understand the difficulty of going from entertaining 4-year-olds to getting your own show. Because I went from having my own show to these 4-year-old birthday parties myself. So I know the route, you know.
We'll be back with more of Jerry Seinfeld in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Thank you. We are back talking to Jerry Seinfeld about everything. We're just talking about our kids. You have 3 kids, right?
I have 3 kids: 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 10 months.
Boys, 2.
A girl, boy, boy.
Girl, boy, boy. Boys will give you no trouble. The girl's going to drive you crazy.
Right, right.
I have 2 girls, and they both were teenagers at the same time, and it's just not right. First of all, every boy that comes to the door is the worst version of you.
Right.
So
I can't even imagine. I mean, I have a 5-year-old. You're upsetting me just talking about this.
No, it's upsetting because when the boys knock on the door, they could say, "Hi, Mr. Steinberg." No matter what they say, I hear, "We're here to have sex with your daughter." But I don't have boys. Boys are dumber.
Right. Right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah, right from the beginning. Yeah. They really think their head is a helmet. You can see how the skull evolved when you have kids. They use it like it's a hammer. They think it's a hammer. I love being a dad. I just love it.
You do?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And I got married at 45. Obviously, I had some issues.
You don't talk much about your family. Your father was a sign painter. Is that what he did?
He had a sign shop. He wasn't a sign painter.
Oh, wasn't good enough?
No, well, he was a Jewish man. So he was good at selling the signs, and he was good at business. But the fine manual art of sign painting, he did not do. But he was a very, very funny guy. Oh. Extremely funny.
Oh, so that's...
And I kind of would watch him, and sometimes I swear I'll feel myself physically doing him, or just like taking on a physical position that he would. And I was never, ever funny around my family.
Yes, me too.
Really?
Yes.
With my friends,
yes.
I'd be funny.
Yes.
And around the family, I was embarrassed. I thought it was somehow undignified or something,
Yes, that's so interesting.
And so when I told them I graduated college, because I knew that I had to do that to make them happy, and they said, "Have you had any thoughts about what you want to do?" And I said, "I think I want to be a stand-up comedian." I was 22 years old. I had never said anything funny around them, And they went, "Okay, And then when they came to see me, oh, God, when your parents came to see you, was that just a nightmare?
They never did. My father saw me at Second City. Yeah, it was... Yeah, he was impressed because there were a lot of priests there that night. And the priests...
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
At Second City, Chicago, there was the McCormick Theological Seminary. So whenever we couldn't get a crowd, we just invited the priests over. Now, do you remember your first Tonight Show appearance?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
We were talking about these interviewers that don't ask you a question. They go, "Talk about your life." And it's like, well, all right. Well, I was 26 years old. I had been doing comedy about 3.5 years. So I was pretty green, of course.
That's fast.
Yeah,
to begin on
but I thought I was pretty good. But you get out there, and that was. I had never performed for an audience bigger than maybe 150 people.
Wow. And
so you go into Tonight Show. Just the studio audience was 500 people, and then of course your entire career, on the line too. It's just scary. It was just scary. You're just scared, and you just scream. You scream your act when you get scared. Why are the post office guy? Why is there wanted posters in the post office? Why did they grab this guy when he was waiting online? What was that? That was one of my big jokes. What was that?
What was it?
Why didn't they hold on to this guy when they were taking his picture? That was the joke. Yeah. That was my joke.
Oh, that's good. But your approach is very Talmudic. You're always asking questions. Why this and why that? And,
right.
And how does this? So you had that right away, like 3 years.
Yes. I figured that out pretty quick.
And you start as a comedian by doing someone else, right?
Right.
Doing anyone's jokes that you heard.
I used to do you.
Really?
Yeah. The reason I'm doing this show, which I told David, I don't need this. But I felt so indebted to him, because when I was just thinking about comedy, he was already doing it, and he was such an idol of mine. You and Bob Klein and Bill Cosby, but and Carlin. You were the constellation to me. You four guys, and you would come out, and he really had, you had quality balls. You really did. Anyway, so when he asked me to do this, I felt this is a way I can pay him back for getting me going and giving me someone to look up to.
Well, thank you,
back
Jerry.
in those days.
Thank you. I was so good. Thank you. I'm going to go to commercial on that. We'll be right back. Thank you. We are back talking to Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry, we haven't discussed the show at all. So you're going along doing your stand-up, right? And then you had done a show. You did Benson.
I had a part on Benson, 3 episodes.
So you were excited to get it.
I was excited, and then I got fired, and they forgot, the part was so small, and I was so irrelevant to the show, they didn't even bother to tell me. I'm serious. They didn't even bother. And so I showed up for work. And I sit down in my chair. You know, all these shows start with a table read where everyone gets the script the first day of the week, and everyone reads through the script. And I sit down and I go, hey, where's my script? And this guy calls me. I didn't even bother, the director, nobody, just, you know, get out of here, kid.
So,
you know.
so humiliating.
But that actually was, you know, one of the great experiences that I had, because it made me so angry that they had the power to just take this away from me. I really valued my stand-up career for the first time in a different way after that. Mm-hmm. Then I started really focusing and writing and working hard and saying, I'm going to be a comedian because they can't take that away. You know, I really resented it. Right. Anyway, so then I just was just stand up, and I was doing the Tonight Show with Carson, and I was doing Letterman, and then when it came around to NBC being interested in me to do something, I had my own career, you know, which I was very comfortable in. And so I said, well, you know, this is the way it's going to be, or, you know, the hell with it. I don't care. So
what happened?
I met up with Larry David, who I always thought was one of the brightest comedians that I had known from those days. And I said, you know, NBC is talking to me about doing a show. What do you think it could be? And, you know, I mean, some people know this story of us started talking. We went into the Korean deli across the street from Catch a Rising Star, and we were making fun of the products around the cash register. And he said, this should be the show. It should be just this, just 2 guys making fun of stuff. And that's really how it started. And when we went into NBC, and they said, what is that? You know, that's not a show. We went, no, that's the show. That's what we're doing. That's the show.
I read somewhere that your influence for the show, yours and Larry's, was the Bud Abbott and Lou Costello show, or was that true?
Yeah, because that show, I mean, the
television show.
The television show that they did in, I think it was 52 and 53. That show was about comedy. There was no explanation of anyone's life or what. Nothing made sense. There was always a lot of inexplicably evil people on the show, which we took that right away. We always had that on our show. You know, the garage attendant that tells you, well, you can't get your car out. You just can't. You know.
It's simple.
It's simple. You know, and that was the law of the show, is that comedy is boss.
So Abbott and Costello, but I also see another reference, which is Jack Benny in your character, because Benny always gave away everything. I mean, everyone around him would do whatever was nuts, and he would just stare at them, and he was sort of the audience's point of view a lot of the time.
Right. I love to play straight. Playing straight, I mean, to me, Bud Abbott is really funnier to me than Lou Costello, because a really good straight man, you know, who keeps bringing the logic back.
Yes.
Because that was, you know, and that goes back to the thing we're talking about stand-up. It's all about this rigorous logic. Like when George Kramer says, well, I'm going to teach people to make their own pizzas in their own ovens. You know, you got to have somebody going, well, you can't have people sticking their arms in 500-degree ovens, you know. That's the funny part of the scene.
Right.
You know?
We will take some questions if you like. I'll point you out if you have any questions for Jerry. Yes, over here. Or Jerry, you could find them yourself.
There aren't many comics out there that seem to be on the verge of breaking through the way you guys have. Do you have any thoughts on that?
When is the next great stand-up going to come along? I think that's a thing that Chris Rock and I talk about. Where are the guys trying to push us out? You know, when you were coming up, and even when I was coming up, there was like, you could name 10 guys.
Yes,
that really had
were
something.
A handful of really good, original. Well, you know, it's where do they come from?
Do you think it's the growing middle class hurts?
I don't.
But I came from a middle class background. Well, I don't personally subscribe to that pain and the love and all that. But you didn't have a tough upbringing, did you?
No, I had a rather
very nice. Okay, so there's the end of it. And here I am. So that's the end of that theory.
Yeah, right.
But,
have you ever thought of going back to TV?
No. I have not. That was 9 years, and it was, I gave it everything I had, and I couldn't have a better ride than that. I had it all, you know. I did the show I wanted with the people I wanted, and I had all the fun, and I could only do it worse, and there's no point in that.
I always see, and it sort of annoys me, everyone talks about how much money you made.
Right.
Does that drive you nuts?
No.
I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking to you.
Thank
you
you
so much for being here. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, David.